We're in good shape. Welcome to, we're in good shape. I got to turn down the recording. It'll echo back on us. Okay. So welcome to another episode of Business Mastery Insights, where our mission is to provide you with timely, provocative, and actionable resources that inspire, promote, and accelerate your quest for business excellence. Today, we're going to talk about mastering the fine art of goal setting. And we'll do that by going through an agenda, starting at the high level of goal setting, and then drilling down into various types of goals. Then we'll end the live broadcast, and those of us that are members of the CEO Alliance will continue with our one-on-one, hands-on, get in the trenches workshop. So let's get started with our agenda. And I'm going to share the screen to do that. I like to do effectively a chalk talk. And so we should be able to see the screen, correct? Hi, Tony. Give me a thumbs up if the screen is visible to you guys. Okay, excellent. All right, so we're going to start with a little opening, which I pretty much have done. Then we'll go into what I call wishes versus goals, which I actually use the word commitments, and I'll explain why as we go through. We'll talk about the types of goals. We'll go into how to set goals. We'll explore what I call the 70% rule. Talk about a concept within Business Mastery called goals and controls. Then we'll have Q&A. We'll stop the live broadcast at that point, and we'll continue with our CEO Alliance hands-on workshop, and then we'll wrap things up. So first, let's talk about this whole idea of what I call wishes versus goals. Now, I think, as we all know, there are certain words that have multiple meanings, number one. And then number two, there's certain words which I call container words, which means that a lot of people will unfortunately believe they know what's being discussed when they hear a certain word, and then not listen as intently as they should, because they've already associated that word with their own perception. So words with multiple meanings, words that are container words, brings us to this whole idea of goals, which is one of those. Now, kind of a side note, I happened to have a conversation just an hour or so ago with one of my private clients, and we were talking about a new client that he was bringing on board. Now, in his particular case, he does medical billing, and as you might imagine, his clients are people in the medical profession. So he had a new college graduate, from medical school, a psychiatrist that was joining a practice which Jared has as a long-term client. And this guy wanted to start using Jared's firm when he started his practice after he graduates in the springtime. So the guy's looking ahead, the young doctor, he's looking ahead, and he's thinking about hiring a billing service, and he was trying to negotiate the price. So Jared and I talked about this idea that Jared was going to use, and that is this. Doctors is effectively a container word, meaning that when some people hear doctors, they have a very if you will, elevated view. So they hear doctor, they think superstar practitioner, doctor. But the people that graduate from medical school recognize that somebody was number one in their class and somebody ended up being number 101. And so there's a difference. All doctors are not created equal. But because of the container word around that, some people will look at them as all being the same. I've been to the doctor, I got the following diagnosis, and therefore I've got the following disease, if you will. Better advice would be to go to 2 or 3, get different opinions, and figure out using your own intuition which path you're going to follow. So Jared decided to use that logic because his business, medical billing, is another container thing or a commodity, and people have the view that what's happening is just it's the same. All you need to do is find the cheapest one on the planet, and that'll give you just as good as getting the best one on the planet. And so Jared was going to talk to this guy about that by first going through and reminding him that all psychiatrists are not the same. That'll be an easy discussion. And then explain, what medical billing is, and at the bottom line, what it is to maximize the revenue for the doctor. And so it's not just sending out the invoice and talking to the insurance company, it's figuring out how to maximize revenue. Same thing with goals. So when a lot of people hear the word goals, they say, I know what goals are. I set goals all the time. And so I'm up to here with goals. I know all how to do it. And so I like to say to people, okay, so thinking back when you were in kindergarten, perhaps you thought about being if you will, a fireman. Well, maybe many of the young men in kindergarten thought about being a fireman. Maybe some of them had a very elevated wish about it. Maybe they had fire trucks as toys and little action figures representing firemen and so forth. And they're very, very focused. They talk about it all of the time. But then as time goes on, you'll realize when you finally get to the fire station and you walk in there and you find the firefighters, there they are, and you think, how many of these began thinking or wishing about being a fireman? Well, some of them probably did. The ones that were able to convert the wish of being a fireman into all of the activity, all of the training, all the discipline, all the physical stamina that needs to be created, all of those activities that end up, I'm going to stop the sharing for a second and go back because I can see it's actually kind of stalled out on us anyway. So all that activity that it takes to convert the wish into being an actual reality. So that's why I actually will generally use the term commitment when I get around to helping business owners, entrepreneurs set goals. To be able, I'm totally in favor of wishes and dreams, but wishes and dreams do not instantly manifest themselves into the result that's desired. But commitments have a high probability of doing that. So I think I can once again get back to my chalk talk. There it is. Share it a bit. And it's well, that's great. Things always do this when you're in the midst of trying to make something happen, at least to me. There it is, after all this. Okay, now I'm going to share the screen again and find what I want, which is this. And there we go. All right. So let's talk about the kind of the next part of our agenda, which is what I'll call the types of goals. We've talked about wishes and dreams. Let's talk about types of goals. And now pretty much what we're going to do from this point forward is, this is my view of what I've been doing for the last 23 some odd years with my clients, helping them create goals for the company, for themselves, for their management team, and for all the employees inside the company. If you've got a goal-oriented business environment, the probabilities are much, much higher that you're going to get an outcome that you're after. So types of goals. So for example, I use the term vision, which to me is a wish or a dream, and I convert that into what I call an intention. Intention is part of the business mastery acronym called IDEA, IDEA, which stands for intention, design, execution, and acceleration. So that's the acronym. But we're not worrying about those other pieces right now. What we're talking about is goals. So intention. So the next thing we're going to do after we got the intention is I'm going to call this, if you will, a long-term goal. By long-term, what I mean is it covers a period longer than our accountability cycle. And as we go through today's goal setting program, we'll get to talking about other types of goals and how we can get them done. But generally, accountability cycle for most of us is going to be a month long. Most business owners, accountability cycle, 1 month long. So we have a long-term goal. And in this particular case, typical vision might cover a time from, let's say, 5 to 10 years. So it's definitely long-term. But if we can take that vision, dream, wish, and convert it to an intention, we can genuinely deal with it as a long-term goal because we've made a commitment to transform our entire business into something else in the future. Now, because it's long-term, and as time goes on and events change, we're free to change our vision, our intention, and therefore a long-term goal. As we get closer and closer to accountability, that flexibility doesn't exist very much. So that's kind of what I call level number one. Types, I might call these, of business goals. Five to 10 years. So that's kind of one. Number two would be, let's call them intermediate term. For me, these are annual, quarterly goals. Again, these goals are longer in time than our accountability cycle, which is month to month. So these kind of goals need to be converted into the next level of goals, which are, if you will, I'm going to call them accountability goals. Accountability goals equal monthly. Now, it's kind of an aside here. Many companies will have departments within them. For example, you might have a marketing department or an accounting department or an operations department or a production department or sales or customer service, etc. Many of those would have a shorter accountability cycle. The rate of change is faster, and so they might have weekly goals. So the next level down would be weekly. Now, then some organizations, let's, for example, think about home builder. So a home builder will generally mobilize accountability on a daily basis. Now, if you've been in home building, you would know what I'm talking about. But generally speaking, there's a morning stand-up meeting where the supervisor and/or foreman, she'll say, this is what we have in store for today, and I need each of you here on the team to be able to deliver what you need to do to make sure that we have a successful day. That might take her 2 or 3 minutes to do that, gets everybody's commitments. Well, first you'll review yesterday's commitments, then new ones for the new day. Weekly, monthly. For our purposes today, we're going to be talking about monthly accountability as we go through this. So those are what I call business goals. Long-term, 5 to 10 years. Intermediate, 1 month. broken down into quarters, then accountability period goals, which are typically monthly. So those would be the bit types of business goals. Now there's another type of goal, and those would be what I'll call, I'm going to call these professional goals. Did I number these? No. So professional.
Who are you from?
Hey, Tony, I think it might be Bruce. Bruce, that's you. You got your mic on.
Call me back. I'm in the middle of a meeting.
So those are professional goals. Now, there's another kind of goals too called personal. So personal goals would be things like, if you let's call it health, wealth, things like that. Now, with respect to professional goals, these are mostly professional growth goals. So if you've got an employee and you're trying to nurture this person along with a series of things they need to do, you could break those into, for example, professional growth goals. It might be getting a certification in a certain area or going to a certain kind of class, etc. Those would be professional goals. We're not going to spend time today on either professional and or personal goals. Instead, we're going to be talking about business goals. So let's talk next about how to set goals. And in my case, commitments. We're talking about how to set commitments. Commitments. So we started with a wish. Now we're down into accountability time. What we don't want is we don't want any commitments like the ones I'm going to teach you next to be longer in duration than the accountability period. So all of these goals need to be contained within a month in most cases. So how did we do this? Well, I use a formula always, and it begins with I will. I will means a commitment. That is not saying I'll try, or I hope I can, or if I get time to, or if I don't feel bad, or if something external like the fear pandemic doesn't paralyze me so I can't do anything. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about making a commitment to yourself and to other people of what you're going to do. I will denotes that kind of a sincerity. So the next thing we need is we need a verb. We need a verb. There's a verb. So this verb can be, let's say, buy, sell, deliver, produce, those kind of words. All those kind of words denote completion. Back to my IDEA acronym, IDEA, we're on E for execution. So we're committing to execute something. So the next term we need, I will, verb. The next term we need is a vital driver. Quick review. Vital means absolutely essential. It doesn't mean something fun, good, interesting, within my sphere of skill, something the boss might want me to do, but I think it's a good idea. None of those kind of things fit into the concept of a vital driver. Comparing vitals to a human body, a brain is vital, so is a heart, but other parts of the body are not vital, albeit wonderful to have and important, but not vital. So we want to have the commitments we make relative to the vital drivers. Now, we're going, all of you I know are working on your own vital driver dashboard. And so the best way to have that happen is for them to be connected to the team's vital drivers. So, lighter drivers didn't spell very well. So potentially, I will deliver the marketing analysis, given that one of our vital drivers is marketing statistics. That would fit. So I will deliver the marketing numbers analysis by, and it's a due date. And this due date here must be on or before the accountability meeting. On or before the accountability meeting. So let's imagine here we are on the 23rd. And so a month from now would be January 23rd. So I will deliver the marketing analysis by January 23rd. That would be a commitment made by me to you, the rest of the people on my team. So that's if you will, how to set a goal. Now we got some problems with this though, and the problems are we're a little out of sync, if you will, between what I just said and something that might be associated with, let's say, longer term goals. So how do we do that? So what we need to do, kind of the next phase, is I'm going to call this, if you will, let's call it loosely milestones. Milestones. So if we have an annual goal, and we're talking, and this hanging in on this marketing stuff. So let's say our annual goal is to have a ratio of 4 leads per sale, meaning that we have a 25% closing ratio. That's our goal. So now, given that we are maybe now needing 8 leads to convert to a sale in December, in next December, we want to get that from 8 to 4. Now we've got some milestones. And so the best way to do that, and I know you guys are working on this, and that is we're going to take our annual goal, and we're basically going to go January, Feb, March, December. December, we already know it's going to be at 4 per 1. And we know here in December, we're at 8 to 1. So what we need to do is to break this long intermediate term goal, annual, into months. And so we're just going to go start reducing this thing. So let's say it goes, and we're just doing this intuitively, 7.5 to 7 to 6.5 to 6, etc., until we end the year at 4. Now we've got a intermediate term goal, annual, broken into accountability periods. So jumping back to the goal we were setting up here, how can we make this goal better? So we're going to improve this goal. So I said, I'm going to deliver the marketing analysis by next month. Now, if you think that through, you think, Bill's going to deliver a marketing analysis. I already talked to you about doctors or psychiatrists. I told you they range from good to great. So I might be able to deliver that marketing analysis. And when you get it, you'd say, Bill, thanks for this total piece of crap. And we've wasted a month, and you let me get by with making a commitment like that, which is really weak, unsubstantial, and very, very normal. Well, what I mean by very, very normal is if we have 100 companies right now that I'm talking to, 95% of them, I'll go to 90. 90% of them don't have any goals at all on a month-to-month basis. The other 5% have goals like the ones I just described, like delivering a report. Only a teeny little fraction are going to do what I'm teaching you to do. And that is, I will reduce. So now I'm changing this goal. I will reduce the leads required per sale from where we are now, 8, down to 7.5 to 1 by our next meeting. Now we've got a real solid goal, number one. And number two, we can actually hold somebody accountable for it, because either I do or don't get it to 7.5 versus the probability of me delivering a lame, weak, insipid analysis, very high, very high. And if I keep doing that, and if you allow all of your people to do that sort of a thing, you'll have an average or worse kind of a company a year from now, and we would have made no progress. And then people say to me, Bill, how in the world can you stay in business for 22 years? And I say, because I insist that people perform at this level. And if they don't, they're not my client anymore. You guys, at least those of you in the Alliance, you're in for this, if you will, this tough love we're teaching about now. Those out there on the live broadcast, you want to get down and dirty with us, jump into the CEO Alliance. We'd welcome you here. All right, so we've now converted a decent goal to a very good goal. Let's go back and review a little bit. So we've talked about how to set goals. We've talked about commitments. I added a piece called how to convert an ordinary goal to a good one, and that'll bring us to the next thing, which is the 70% thing. Talked about the different kinds of business goals. Told you about professional growth goals. Talked about personal goals. We all need goals in all those areas. Setting business goals need this format. They got to be done on or before the accountability meeting. Talked about milestones. So let's talk about the, if you will, what I call the 70% rule. So if you and your business are even setting goals, then believe me when I tell you that a typical business goal that's set by people they're pretty darn weak. By weak, I mean easily done and worthless. And so a good example was, I will deliver the marketing analysis by the next meeting. That is theoretically a goal. Some companies will let me get away with that. One of my clients, that would never happen. Instead, my goal was to reduce from 8 to 7.5 the number of leads required to produce one sale. So that's a much better and measurable goal. So what's this 70% rule about? Well, here's why I say we're going to manage to 70%. We're going to manage to 70%. So how do we do that? Well, other than Janet, I think the rest of us are not high jumpers, but let's imagine we were. So we're high jumpers. So we get a high jumping team here, and I believe all of us are able to jump over a 1-foot bar. 1 foot, we can step over it. We're 100% successful as high jumpers. Now, you might say, well, gee, Bill, we didn't accomplish much. I mean, we didn't even compete, really. I mean, the other people that had better high jumpers did a better job. So what we need to do is we need to raise the bar for the team to the point where 70% of the time we're able to make it as a team, and 30% we fail. If we do that, I find that produces companies that can double, triple, grow 10 times in 1 year by just doing 70%. Remember, we're focused on vital drivers. So as a team company, we would have maybe 12 to 16 vital drivers. And if we, on a month-to-month basis, are hitting 70%, we'll be hitting somewhere on the order of 8 to 12 will be green vital drivers, meaning that we hit them. Now, individuals might go January 100%, February 50%, March 90%, etc. But when we get to the end of the year, annual, we want 70%. People think, Bill, why wouldn't you want 100? Back to the same point. You can lower the goals until every single person will be able to be at 100%. Janet's in this space. She knows all about schools. She knows there's huge pressure to make sure everybody's 100%. And Janet knows that if you're 100%, a typical school, you're not going to be able to make a living. And so same with our companies. If our goals are so weak that everybody can hit them, we're not going to have a thriving business. So we want 70%. Now for a person, if you're working with these people month after month after month, negotiating goals like I described, reducing from 8 to 7.5, those kinds of goals. At the end of the year, if you think about it, average person might have 3 to 5 goals a month. Let's use 4 times 12. That's 48 goals, 48 accountable goals, 48 goals with numbers, 48 goals that were due on a certain date. Think about how easy it is to have an evaluation. When you sit with somebody, they've got the list of the same 48 goals that you do. They know the score is same as you. And so what a fantastic way to produce A players. A meaning the very best players available to you at the price you want to pay. So that's the 70% rule. The key to it is we want to manage to the 70% level. Team-wise, month after month after month, individuals annually. Now, so we'll get into, I think we're going to cover today, back to my agenda. We're going to get into goals and controls now. Goals and controls. Goals and controls. So goals, AKA commitments and controls. Team goals, really they're goals. So what we're trying to do is we've got 2 tools. Tool 1, tool 2. Tool 1 is our team vital driver dashboard. Vital driver dashboard has 12, maybe 15, 16 vital drivers on it. And we have the second goal is what I call the gas sheet goals and action steps sheet. Now, I've included both because it really is difficult to negotiate goals with individuals at the level I just demonstrated to you when you're first getting started with this. Because first off, the people that are in your company, they don't understand this. They're used to working hard and getting raises and complaining about their compensation and having you cave over. That's what they're used to. Well, we need to convert them. So early on, I allow action steps. So an action step would be something that I would call, I will deliver the marketing analysis by next meeting. When I'm keeping track on the goals and controls scorecard, then I would write A there. It's just an action step. It's not a goal. It's not a commitment. So in tool 3 is the goals scorecard. This is where we're managing 70%. This one here is for there's actually 2 of these really, and there's the team one that you're keeping, and then there's the personal one being kept by the individual. So those are the tools. So what's going to happen now is this. We're going to have an accountability meeting, and it's called a SET meeting. SET, strategic execution team meeting. So strategic execution team. Now, what's that all about? Well, first, we need a strategy. Once we've got a strategy, we need a team to execute the strategy. So hence, strategic execution team. So that team is assembled this way. So everybody on this team is responsible for at least one vital driver on your vital driver dashboard. You got 12 items on the team. If each person has 3 or 4 of them, you'll have 3 or 4 people in your meeting. If you're all by yourself, you've got 12 on your sheet, you're it. You're responsible for all 12. That's why it's harder to be a solopreneur or a solopreneur with a little staff, because you don't have much of a team to leverage. But over time, you'll get this team. And key, you assemble the team by being people responsible for the vital drivers. So most of the time when I start working with a private client, and they might have a management team of, let's say, 5 or 6 people, they'll be in a room. I'll come in and see these people. We'll negotiate the vital drivers. Takes us about a half a day. We'll figure out the vital drivers. Got the vital drivers. We look around the room, and if somebody does not have their initials by a vital driver, they don't belong in this meeting. And you'll find that far more often than seldom, if you will. So what we do is we do 2 things in this meeting. 3 things. 1, review the vital driver dashboard. And number 2, we review, I'm going to change that word to hold team members accountable for the commitments from last month. And then number 3, new commitments. That's it. That's the only 3 things we do in this meeting. This is not a staff meeting. We're not talking about this, what's going on in the company and the environment. We're talking about the team vital driver dashboard, accountability for the previous month's commitments, and new commitments. That's it. Tools used, vital driver dashboard, the gas sheet for individuals in the team, and the goal scorecard. All the goal scorecard is a list of people, current number of goals, successes, ratio. Year to date, total goals, successes, ratio. That's a goal scorecard. Pretty simple tool. So that's what you do in the meeting. We want, on average, 70%. Teams as a group, 70%. And of course, new goals, we don't know the percentage until next month. So that's how we run the accountability, what I call goals and controls. I use this term goals and controls for this. Okay. Now, as we go ahead in time into our subsequent Thursday Business Mastery Insights live events, we'll go deeper and deeper and deeper. Envision peeling an onion. Over time, we'll get more and more detail into each of these concepts. But what else was I going to cover today? And then we'll go into our workshop piece. Okay, that was it. Okay, so we can go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing. You can go ahead and turn your mics on. We'll do a little Q&A, and then I'm going to stop the live stream. So, Tony.
Yes.
Any questions on what we
I think I follow that recollecting my corporate career, that was pretty much standard how we operated. So you
Excellent.
had
So
your
you sound like a guy like me. So I actually got my goals and control sheet from IBM when I was back there.
okay, yeah. So you had your big overarching goals, and then they progressively filtered down into shorter goals, 6 monthly, quarterly.
Yeah, what you saw when you were in that environment, all that's fantastic concepts. It wasn't practiced very frequently.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yeah.
The live streaming is still on, I believe.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go through the Q&A, then I'll stop it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, though, Janet. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Tony, you had a question? Another question?
Yeah, I mean, unless companies maintain that discipline,
Yeah.
then things fall down in the cracks, if you like, in terms of particularly around accountability, I think, where what happens now, a lot of companies are outsourcing some of the actions to other parties
Right.
and thinking it'll all be taken care of. And there's no one standing above it to making sure that they understand what they're supposed to be doing. They follow up with them to make sure they're on the right track and on time. And that's where I find, in speaking with people today, things fall apart, because the accountabilities and the value drivers are not sitting under one roof in one organization.
Right. Correct. Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic insight. And so that's why I love, Tony, to have individuals' names connected with each vital driver. So overall, they're responsible for everything to do with whatever the vital driver is. So for example, when you think about something like gross margin, you very well may have to break it in pieces, because there's two parts to that. One's the control of the cost of goods, and the other one is control of the pricing. So those are two different potential accountability people. So the vital driver dashboards that you'll learn over time, Tony, are realistically one per department. So envision if you have a spreadsheet with tabs, marketing, sales, operations, etc. Then there's the executive one. Bruce, any questions before we turn off the live stream?
Yes, Bill, I do have a question.
Okay.
It was almost the very last thing you said in the goals and control section, and
Right.
it was the tools. So vital driver dashboard,
Right.
gas sheet, GAS,
Yeah, goals and action steps.
and what was the third?
Goal scorecard.
And that's where we're looking for 70%.
Right. Now it'll vary up and down and up
Of
and
course.
down. As time you're right.
But on
Yeah,
average,
so Bruce, so in your case, you would have, for example, you would have envision your entire staff on there. So there's a mixture of quality of goals. Some are just the if you will, the frontline staff, different kinds of goals than for example, the practitioners would have, the service delivery people. Different,
So
but you still mix them all together. It's overall because even the receptionist, he has vital drivers that are valuable.
right. So the frontline staff might have a goal of having 10 positive Yelp reviews this
Correct.
month.
Kirk,
And that's a real goal. And if they get 7, then they're hitting
you're
70%.
exactly right on the button. And so, for example, if we've got a Yelp review that's negative, a
Right.
goal which would be appropriate would be, I will resolve that negative one by identifying and reaching out to that individual if I can figure it out. So that's, you're right on target. Yes. And over time, people will find, for example, let's imagine we did that. Well, how easy is it to identify somebody? Darn near impossible. So, but I let that goal go by, Bruce, knowing the person will fail, because then they'll learn they shouldn't be committing to something they can't control Yelp. And so they got to figure out, okay, what else can we do? We got to do something else to reduce those instances. You're exactly right on it. So
But then it also
vital driver
means that,
dashboard, the gas sheet, there's two of them, one for the whole team. Everybody's are mixed together. And then the second gas sheet is each individual has their own, with only their own commitments on it. And then the final one's a scorecard.
And what does GAS stand for again?
Goals, action steps.
Goals and action steps. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Janet, any comments? We'll turn off the live stream.
No, I'm just putting it all together since my name would be associated with all these things. I just have to prioritize, I guess.
Well, yes, of course, that's why we're doing this vital work as well.